One evening, after watching a movie, a boy and a girl were on their way home. The boy could tell something wasn't right because of the heavy silence hanging between them. That night, the girl finally spoke up, asking him to pull over because she needed to talk. She admitted that her feelings had changed and that it was time for them to move on. A silent tear slipped down his cheek as he slowly reached into his pocket and handed her a folded note. At that very moment, a drunk driver came speeding down the same road, losing control and swerving directly into their car. The boy lost his life instantly, but by some miracle, the girl survived. Later, she remembered the note and carefully unfolded it, her hands trembling. It read, "Without your love, I would die." A 20-year-old boy was seated near the train's window when he suddenly shouted, "Dad, look! The trees are moving backward!" His father smiled, while a young couple sitting nearby exchanged pitying glances at the boy's excitement. A moment later, he exclaimed again, "Dad, look! The clouds are moving along with us." The couple, unable to remain silent, turned to the father and said, "Why don't you take your son to a good doctor?" The old man simply smiled and responded, "I already have. We are just coming from the hospital. My son was blind since birth. Today, he got his sight for the first time." Every single person in this world carries a story. Never judge someone before truly knowing them. The truth may surprise you. A man took his elderly father out to dinner. The father, frail and weak, struggled to eat, causing bits of food to spill onto his clothes. Some people in the restaurant watched with irritation, their expressions filled with disapproval. The son, however, remained calm and patient. After finishing their meal, he gently led his father to the restroom. There, he carefully cleaned off the stains, straightened his father's hair, and adjusted his glasses. When they returned to the table, the restaurant had fallen into silence, every pair of eyes watching them. The son paid the bill and turned to leave when an older man called out, "Young man, don't you think you've forgotten something?" The son paused and replied, "No, sir. I don't believe so." The elderly man smiled and said, "Yes, you have. You left behind a lesson for every son and hope for every father." You won't believe this. Two elderly women carrying baskets filled with fresh herbs walked toward the local market. Their quiet determination caught the attention of a young artist who, curious, decided to follow them. When she arrived, she was amazed by the market's vibrant atmosphere. Among the many vendors, she noticed several individuals with disabilities, some blind, others deaf, and some with physical impairments. Yet, despite their challenges, each person worked with remarkable skill and efficiency. The artist couldn't help but wonder about the story behind this incredible community. She approached a woman with a kind smile and asked about the market's history. The woman, who was actually the market's founder, shared her story. As a young girl, she had lost her sight in a tragic accident. But rather than allowing her disability to define her, she had established this market as a safe place for others with disabilities to earn a living and contribute to society. The artist was deeply moved by the woman's resilience and the market's spirit. She realized that true strength does not lie in physical ability, but in the human spirit's power to rise above adversity and create a better world. A young orphan boy wandered the streets, his stomach aching with hunger. As he passed a restaurant, he hesitated upon seeing a half-eaten plate of food on an abandoned table. Just as he reached out to take a bite, a kind waiter noticed him. Instead of scolding the boy, the waiter smiled. "This plate is like a story," he said. "Just because it's unfinished doesn't mean it isn't worth reading." The boy tilted his head in confusion. The waiter continued, "Sometimes a story ends before it should, but a new chapter can always begin." With that, he returned with a fresh plate of food. The boy's eyes widened with disbelief. A small act of kindness. A simple reminder that even the smallest gestures can touch a lonely heart. John was overweight. His girlfriend Sarah decided to leave him. "I can't be with you," she said. "You need to change." Heartbroken, John drowned his sorrows in food, sinking deeper into sadness. One day, while shopping, he met a cheerful man who was also overweight. "How are you so happy?" John asked. The man chuckled. "Being fat isn't my entire life. I have a job I love, friends and family who care about me, and hobbies that bring me happiness." John pondered those words. He found a new job, picked up a hobby, and made new friends. Over time, he lost some weight. But more importantly, he discovered joy. Later, Sarah saw John again. "You look great," she said. "I want you back." John laughed. "No thanks," he replied. "I'm happy now." Just as a caterpillar must change before it can fly, John had to transform, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally, to truly find happiness.